Welcome to the Two Act Podcast, a weekly discussion on anime, cinema, and TV. I'm your co host, Adi, and as always, I'm joined by.
John. And I have a sweet, sweet intro for what we are covering this week, Arcane Season 2. So, what I wrote, I got really cute with this. Jinx is on the run, and it's up for the Piltover to rein her in, the police. And is Vi going to let them arrest her psychotic, murdering little sister Powder, aka Jinx? Also, I hope you love Enemy by Imagine Dragons because it's still the intro song. Adi, what are your opening thoughts for Arcane Season 2?
Opening thoughts. Well, before we do go to opening thoughts, I just wanted to make sure people are aware that, of course, this is based on the League of Legends game, which you're quite familiar with. And
Yep.
I just wanted to say that if any one of you listening haven't seen Arcane Season 1, do yourself a favor, watch it. It came out like 4 years ago now, which is crazy, pretty wild that we get a sequel season 4 years later. But incredible show. And now finally, the second season is fully out. And what did I think of it? I had a range of feelings and opinions on it. I think overall, it's still an incredible achievement in animation. I've not seen anything quite like Arcane. And the animation and the visuals, they're just on a league of its own. No pun intended. But I've got a lot of thoughts on the narrative. I think that there's a lot going on, and yeah, I just felt like there was a lot to process, and I'm not sure I was able to take it in at the rate of the pace in which the show goes in season 2, as opposed to the groundwork in season 1. But we'll get into more detailed analysis and reviews and thoughts and stuff. But what was your opening thoughts on season 2 of Arcane? Spoilers, by the way, if you've not
Good
seen
on
it.
you. Yeah, I agree. First season was awesome. I was kind of surprised where the story went and where it ended up. So, like we said, spoilers. Time travel was not on my bingo board. Alternative timelines was also not on my bingo board. At times, Arcane Season 2 kind of feels like a fever dream and not in a good way. I don't think this show had like all of its ducks in a row. It's kind of trying to do like 3 or 4 different narratives, and at times can be kind of confusing. And it doesn't do the same thing that the first season did.
Absolutely. I mean, there's just so much happening. The plot threads are all over the place. There's so many characters that are introduced and given much more of a superior role to play in the narrative. And I think that season 1 excels because it's focused, and it's primarily story about sisterhood and the dynamic of Piltover and Zaun. You got Jinx and Vi, and of course you've got Jace, and you're seeing the dynamics of those two and how the conflict arises and reaches to a point and it ends in a crazy cliffhanger. And season 2 pretty much picks up right off the bat. It doesn't waste any time. We're straight into what happens, and Jinx's missile ends up bombing the council and kills wipes out half of the council, and Caitlyn loses her mom, and it just unravels so quickly. And I think it started off promisingly, and I enjoyed it up until a certain point. I was more specifically disappointed with the way the third act panned out. more than anything.
I
But I
agree.
felt that there were too many characters and too many storylines that we just couldn't have enough time to really, feel satisfied with the way it resolved. I think it kind of, it suffered from bad pacing. And when I say that, I don't mean that it was slow by any means. On the contrary, I thought it was super fast. There's just so much happening. And, in the process of that, I feel like not every character got the sort of resolution they deserved. And yeah, it just created, I feel like, they could have done with a longer screen time, I mean, runtime per episode. And I just feel like, we spoke about Andor a month ago, I think. And Andor does such a great job in really, you know, scaling the whole show out, not rushing it, really building its characters. And I think the same thing Arcane season 1 does, but in season 2 it really feels like we're in the end game. And just to make it clear, I think they did say that season 2 is the conclusion of the Arcane story. So I don't think we're expected to see uh I don't know, maybe they bring these characters back or whatever,
Right. But
cuz I
it'll be
think
its
there's like
own thing.
eh, possibly. And I think that
Yeah.
is another issue because they you can see that they set up a bit of sequels setup ideas with the
All
whole
right.
Black Rose narrative arc. I'm not sure how I felt about it. I really couldn't engage with it as much as I did. I just feel like we kind of get robbed of the main conflict between Piltover and Zaun. I feel like
Mhm.
that just takes a complete backseat in the whole narrative because that was what the main conflict was in season 1 and that's what it was building to. But they, you know, turns out they deal with that in the background and you got these other characters who emerge like Ambessa and they take more of a role as an antagonist in the show, but there's just yeah. What was your opinion? What did you think about the
Yeah, so like I was saying, like the show, I kind of feel like the show has like ADD. The second season, like it's trying to like piece all these other stories together that might not necessarily matter. Like where the show completely lost me is when they did when Echo just like finds out he's in like an alternate dimension. I'm just like, what is this? Did I miss an episode? Like I had to like check what is going on, and then like he slowly like pieces it together, and I'm like, okay, maybe where are they going with this? I'm like, I guess I'll find out. And then I'm starting to get on, and then they do start doing time travel, and I'm like, the hell is going on? Like they have like all these characters, and then they bring back dead characters, and then I'm even more confused. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then you have beloved characters that like they don't like tell you exactly the name of, but if you were like if you had a lot of knowledge about like League of Legends lore, retcons and all, then you go, oh, that's that character. Oh, that's that character. Like the poison doctor, that's Singed. He's a character that's been around in League since the game came out in 2009. And or like Warwick, he's another character that came out around that same time. And you're like, oh, okay. And that was Vander. That was Warwick. And it's just like, okay. And then you're like, all right, so what are we doing? And then it just kind of becomes an even modeled mess. Even like the Jace stuff with like Victor, it's like okay, so this is going to be like the plot of the story, but then there's like six other things going on at the same time, and it doesn't all like tie itself together and like come together and like make sense and become like an ultimate like climax of the series. It just kind of just like you said, it doesn't completely like tie up all the loose ends, and then you got all this like something like sort of like sequel bait, and then like season not necessarily season 3 because they said they were going to end it, but a spin-off show of what are we going to do with Heimerdinger, or a random other character, or it just I wanted to like this as an ex-retired League of Legends fan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure your feelings having played the game. I mean, I never played
Mhm.
the game, but yet I was so deeply invested in the characters from
Mhm.
season 1. It feels like all that work that's been put in to really develop them is abandoned in this. And I think, like, you mentioned that episode with Echo. Echo doesn't have any sort of real presence in the show up until that point. That episode, some of the characters behave in ways that come out of nowhere. So
Right.
suddenly you're seeing an episode where Echo is the main focal point in the narrative, and okay, we're expected to believe that he's a key player, and it's up to him to go, sort this whole thing out through time travel. And of course, you can argue that the whole time travel stuff feels really Avengers Endgame or whatever,
It's
but
convoluted as hell, and
it
it's
is
probably
convoluted.
one of the worst, not necessarily worst, but it is it is not a good time travel story. Time travel is
No,
hard to
no, no,
write,
no.
and
It,
this is shown right here. It's really hard
yeah,
to write.
I really wish it didn't had to resort to time travel and
Right.
alternate parallel universes, because then you got the situation where Echo then has to go back and sort everything out, but then turns out in the end he's not even, I don't think he even has a line. When it
Right.
ends, it just ends. He's just, it's just, and the same thing can be said about a lot of characters and the way they're written.
Yep.
Why is suddenly an enforcer? That
Yep.
makes no sense.
He becomes a
She
cop.
hates them. Yeah,
You know
she
what?
hates them,
Yep.
and I don't
She
know.
even says that.
You can't like completely change a character's uh ideals in the span of one episode when you
Oh,
spend
like
the whole
Jinx?
season when you spend the whole season building the trauma, the conflict, the struggle,
Mhm.
why and her feelings for Piltover and the enforcers are quite deeply troubled, and that's what makes her relationship with Caitlyn unique, because she's in love with her. But her turning into an enforcer for that first episode, and then they do a bit of a model, like sort of a montage showing you like how they're like fighting for the cause and whatever. And I
Oh,
think that didn't
like
feel,
whatever.
it didn't feel in true sync with the character. And the same thing can be said about Jace. This Jace's
Right.
sudden turn of character, when he tries to kill Victor, comes out of nowhere. So I do
Mhm.
feel like something with the writing feels off this season of the
Yeah.
show, but a lot of it I feel could have been dealt with better if they just had more episodes or
Mhm.
a longer runtime to
Right.
really flesh it out. It just feels, just feel the final 3 episodes are incredibly rushed, and they don't really give you a satisfying conclusion. If you are to tell me that this is it for the characters, I'm not satisfied per se. I don't want a cop out Jinx dying, presumed dead ending where we don't really see the two sisters really have a moment to resolve their relationship in a way that at least, gives you a sense of solace, a sense of like, closure. It just ends. And then you're expected to like believe that she may have survived or whatever. But I just feel like, a lot of the things get retconned, uh,
Yep.
which
A
I
lot of
didn't understand.
character
Vander and
assassinations.
Silco. Yeah, what, like that episode where Echo gets transported in a parallel universe where everything is much better in Zaun than it is
Yeah.
in
Because
the
Vi
main.
doesn't exist because she died.
She died, exactly, and it
Mhm.
turns out that Vander and Silco, the Silco acknowledges that he knows that uh Vander, I mean Y and Jinx, I mean Powder are Vander's kids, and I think the whole point of why season one works is because Silco doesn't necessarily know that. And I think that retconning that is problematic and could have been dealt with better. I don't think there's a
Mhm.
need for it. But I was mainly disappointed with the whole Piltover Zaun conflict. I felt like that really gets shoehorned in the back. And then this whole Noxian Mbessa, the
Mhm.
general, the Mel's mother character, she suddenly gets to be the forefront of the conflict. And I was not happy with the way they wrote around that. I think like it should have been more about the conflict between Piltover and Zahn. And the
Right.
worst thing is, it's not like they deny it. It is happening in the background, but they just skim past it. And I just wasn't sure why they had to do that. But that
Mhm.
being said, it's not all negative for me. I still think the animation is breathtaking. Um,
I agree.
I feel like
Other
maybe,
other than you know the what do they do, like stop frames? There
yeah.
was like where they like so the frames per second in this show, runs smoothly for the most part because of how well it's like animated. But then like some of the echo stuff where you go like 5 frames a second, I understand that that's a stylistic choice to understand because he can only time travel 5 seconds back. But I hated that. I hated that in the first season when they did that shit. I hate it right now. I don't think it adds anything. If anything, it just it feels like I'm getting jerked around.
Mhm. Yeah, the animation
I
is varied. It's never
mhm,
consistently one thing, which I don't mind. I mean, I think I definitely didn't have a big issue with it as much as you did, but I did notice that there were a lot of changes in animation.
mhm.
There were some scenes in flashbacks that were stop motion, or it was not always what we get to see. Uh, the normal action, animated
Mhm.
in the normal way that they animated it. So I did notice that, but I felt like there's too much obsession over the style. It almost feels like a music video playing
Yeah.
over and over
No,
at
I
sometimes.
it
And I think season one
it
really
is.
got the balance right. It wasn't overly indulgent with that, but in season two, I felt like there were so many moments where there's a big dramatic moment, whether it's an encounter between the two sisters, or
Mhm.
it's a big fight or anything, and it just turns into a music video.
Yeah, I feel like the intro of a good chunk of the episodes in season 2, it was kind of like a intro, like it was a music video intro, and you're like, okay, when's the narrative gonna show up? What are we doing this episode? What's going on? That's like my like main problem with this series. Like this whole season is just it's a lot of what's going on. I don't know what's going on. And you think as somebody that's really loved the first season and is pretty engaged with these characters because, like you said, I played a lot of them in the video game, that I would understand what's going on because I know all these little things. I don't know what's going on. That's a problem.
Yeah, you're right. I think the biggest thing that confounded me was, I think, when Jace and Echo and Heimerdinger. I fucking love Heimerdinger. I think he's a G. But they go to, and I think he's the real winner in this show.
you
He's
you
the real
fashion
winner.
yourself a Yurtle enjoyer. You're like, what the fuck
No,
is a
but
Yurtle?
I have no clue. I had to look it up, and then I
See,
realized at the
when
end
you
of
start
the
playing
the
League,
show.
you're gonna find out about Timo, and then that's gonna be your favorite character because he's got like
All right.
4,000 skins, and he's really
Well, I'm
annoying.
pretty sure. I'm pretty sure you'll be there in the spin-off. So no, but what I was saying was that they get to a point where they go to the hex gates, and
Yep.
there's an anomaly, and that's where they get transported into different universes. But mysteriously, the show never really gets to the explanation of what happened to them until episode 7, when Echo goes, to lands up in that parallel universe where he meets Heimerdinger. It turns out Heimerdinger's been there for 3 years, and everything's peaceful, and he quite enjoys it there. And I think, it's just, he was right. He was always right. People didn't believe him when he said some things are best left unexplored. And look what happens. Piltover turns nearly dystopian, and
Hmm.
yeah, he ends up in a different universe that is a lot more peaceful. And turns out, living is better when you're not in a war zone with magic and
And science.
conflict and
Yep.
bloodshed and science. But
Hmm.
I didn't like how some of these characters disappeared for large chunks, and you kind of wondered what happened. Like Mel just disappears.
Hmm.
I have no clue what happens to her until she comes back towards the third act. Jace disappears for a lot of the time, and a lot of Caitlyn gets a lot of screen time this season, and I think that's a good thing. I do think showing her as, you think that, okay, she's probably seeking revenge for her mother's death, so she's gonna
Right.
be, evil, but turns out she's not.
She can
Uh,
become
I thought
shit
that
evil Jinx crazy.
sort of, but I think the main thing that we were emotionally invested in was really the storyline between Jinx and Y. And
Hmm.
that really, I think the scenes where the episodes in the middle work great because it leads to them reuniting. It leads to them, discovering Vander, who's turned into this monster, and is deeply traumatic. And it results in some of the most emotional moments in the entire season. But I didn't like the whole way where she was portrayed as this cult Zaun hero, when in reality she couldn't give a shit about
Nope.
being that figure. And I think then you're introduced to this kid who is very similar to what Powder was like,
Hmm.
and that brings out the humanity in Jinx, and sort of, you know saves her from going completely insane. But then she gets killed off. There are a lot of small supporting characters who get killed off, but I couldn't give a shit about them.
Right.
Uh, if I had to name a few, I think they were awful NPCs. So you got Caitlyn's side piece who betrays her and is secretly Ambassador's, uh,
Double
henchman or
agent.
whatever.
Yep.
Double agent, couldn't give a shit about that. The Vander
Right.
knockoff character, he just gets killed off. There's a
Yep.
Shape of Water dude. I don't know what he's doing in there, but this amphibian looking character. All of them were hilariously unimportant, uninteresting, unnecessary. Uh, Hell, even the piano player in the last episode was more interesting than all of those characters combined. But I feel like characters like Sevica kind of get pushed back, and it's a shame because you built such a good foundation in the first season. But I feel a
Hmm.
lot of it, it's almost like I'm trying to understand whether it was, they didn't have the time and resources to push another season out, because I really do think it could have benefited with a third season,
Right.
because
If
a lot
they
of it feels rushed.
paced it better and like maybe ended the season before that third act, and then that third act could be a whole season, and they could flesh it out and not make it a mess.
Yeah, most of my problems with the show arise in the last three episodes.
Yeah,
The first
I
two
agree.
acts are still okay. They're great. I love the first two acts. I think it's bold in a way because you're covering a lot of ground, but then it's like opening the Pandora's box, and then you don't know how to keep your puzzle pieces together in the
All
end,
right.
because there's too much to go through, and too little time to
Hmm.
do so. And I think that's where it really struggled for me. And when it got to the time travel bit, I did like seeing an alternate version of Zaun, and seeing how these characters were, you know happy and peaceful, and there's constant reminders of that. The show loves to show you what could have been,
Got to
and
protect that smile.
it's also the sense of characters not really having a final form, right? I think
Mhm.
obviously you could speak about this more because you played the games, but
Mhm.
I
And I
guess
will.
I guess Jinx will always be Jinx, right? She'll never be
Yeah.
this happy Jinx character who's
She's happy
realized that
when she's shooting a shark missile at people. That's when she's happy. That's her character.
that is her that is her character. So in a similar vein, they kept it to that. I guess we should talk about uh, the antagonists in the show, because I think primarily my issues were with that. So you have Mbessa, who's this Noxian general, who's
Mhm.
Mel's mother, and she takes a lot more of a central role uh, in leading the conflict against Zaun. And then you've got, surprisingly, Victor, who gets killed by Hextech. Turns out he miraculously survives and turns
Yep.
into this
Borg.
herald,
Yep.
and he decides to leave and start another civilization where
Mhm.
he heals people from the Undercity of
Yeah,
Zaun,
there's like a poison
the
in Zaun.
Shimmer.
Yeah, the
So the
shimmer is like leaking into the water and it's fucking people up. And he's trying to
yeah,
like be the Jesus. He's robot Jesus. That's what Victor is.
he is, but he's in a way where he needs to share a consciousness with them in order for
Yeah.
them to survive.
Yeah.
Um, what, what did you think of him? And did you what did you think of his turn as a guy who means well and wants to
Yep.
help people, but then turns out that it's a lost cause, and the only way to save everyone is if they all share the same consciousness as
Right.
his.
They assimilate. Yeah, I'm fine with it. I have way more problems. I think like the antagonist for the show is just the writers of the show because I think they didn't know what they wanted to do. And no, Victor, he's a character in the game. You never see his face, or at least I never did until the show came out. And he's a cyborg guy that shoots a laser beam that goes halfway across the map. Like I enjoyed it. I like his accent. I like a lot of things about Victor. I thought it was interesting. I just wish it had a good conclusion, or like he sacrificed himself or something, or you know.
Yeah, even in the end, they don't really have much of a scene apart from,
Mm-mm.
like, I think there's one scene together with Jace where they disappear. I don't know what happens to them. Do they get killed?
Who knows?
It's not explained. Even Heimerdinger, I was surprised to read that Heimerdinger may have killed himself in the process of helping Echo get transported
Yep.
back. If that is what happens, I would say I'll be really underwhelmed, because I think he was
Will you bring the score down a point if that's the fact?
in retrospect. If I see the next thing and I see that they killed off Heimerdinger because of
I
that, I'm going to break it down.
I'm pissed.
Nah, I mean, he's such a fascinating character for me, because
Mhm. He's funny.
he's tortured in a way because he can't die. He's immortal, and he's seen so much, and he warns against the dangers of science and invention and pushing the boundaries of you know what magic can do. And then it ultimately leads to him realizing that you can't really always save everyone, and sometimes you just got to save yourself.
You're right.
And I think he makes a very wise choice, because I think his last line to Echo is, I've truly lived since I've been here and I met you. And
Mm.
I got the sense really early on when Echo gets transported in that world, that whole episode, that Heimerdinger knew that he could get back if he wanted to, but he chose not to. because he was happy there.
You got to play his
Because it
banjo.
was because it was peaceful. It was everything was as it should be in perfect order. But he still realizes what Echo needs, and he still chooses to help him out. I just feel that instead of inventing a device that only gets you 4 seconds back in time, he could have maybe stayed a bit longer and invented a device that actually, you know, does more than 4 seconds. Uh, but I mean, they play this whole thing up to such an extent that it's crucial for him to save Jinx and at the end. But I think unless time is relative, why was he in such a rush to go back? He could have
Because he had
just
to do the time warp.
yeah, but he was gonna do it regardless, right?
Right.
Unless
Yeah.
unless he knew time was against him, and then that's a
Right.
different angle to play. But there's no evidence of that. But I don't personally have a problem when episodes are told from a different character's point of view. I quite enjoy it actually, because I think
Right.
it adds it adds a different layer to the whole story. Uh, but the problem was not that it was an episode from Echo's perspective. The problem was, it was done too late and there was not enough to follow up on. And if you're going to do it, it needs to be built, and it can't just be that and then 2 episodes of just direct action that's meant to conclude everything. And if you're going to make him be pivotal, and then have absolutely no presence in the last episode. He doesn't even have anything to say. He's just, once he uses the device, his job is pretty much done. And I thought, it felt rushed to me,
I
and
agree.
I think I just feel like it should have had more episodes and probably another season to deal with those threads a lot better. But we've been really critical about the show, and rightly so, because our standards of the show is so high, and I think this is still.
They fucked up.
I think
They
we
should
can
have. The
agree.
first season should have been like mid, and then this would have been amazing.
True, true. What did you like about the season, though? What did you enjoy beyond just
I
the
liked
visual?
the fight scenes. I felt like they were well drawn. That's when I was like in the show. I was just like, oh hell yeah, we're gonna fight. And then like I can think of like the game, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that fight. A tale as old as time. Caitlyn and Jinx shooting guns at each other.
Yeah,
Um,
I quite like that as well.
mhm. Yeah. Speaking about the game, I used to play it when it came out in 2009. For many years, I played Jinx and Vi in game. I can attest to that. League of Legends is a multiplayer online battle arena, or MOBA for short. Dota, it was a Defense Against the Ancients. It was a mod for Warcraft 2. And that one of the guys that made that decided to make League of Legends. He was one of the founding members of that team. And League took that game type and made it the most popular it's ever been. Anyone and everyone that plays anything in the genre knows about League of Legends. They call it, LOL or League for short. I definitely liked playing Jinx more than Vi, but that's just because of my play style. I quit playing League of Legends many years ago. I still have some close friends that play it regularly, like in every Saturday type of thing. I don't get it, but to each your own. The game currently has over 169 characters, which is absurd. When you have that many characters, you can only think of where a spin-off show could go. Like you said, you like Heimerdinger. Maybe there's like a Yordle show, just to show a bunch of Yordles doing Yordle things. Maybe we have the Yordle Expendables. Who knows? Maybe we have a show about a bunch of Yordles that do heists. That would be sweet. I personally have some favorite characters. I would like to see Morgana, a fallen angel, and her sister. That storyline, I think that's really interesting because she's like, it's like a Justicar angel and like this fallen angel that would like sling spells at each other, and they have their own thing. or like any storyline involving Annie, because she's a child of darkness that her parents died, and she made her teddy bear like a summon. League of Legends. You can keep making all these things. I'll watch them, whether or not
Yeah, I
I
mean
will ever
the
play the
lore
game
of
again.
the lore of Riot Games is so extensive. They could,
Yep.
they could take it anywhere, and I'm fairly certain there's two spin-offs in the works. So
Right.
this is by no means the end for the universe of League of Legends, and at least in Netflix's catalog. But
Oh yeah, they're going to spend a lot of money on
well,
it too. It's going to take a long time for it to get animated, but I'm sure it will at least be decent.
true, true. I mean, the animation really is breathtaking. Technically,
Mm-hmm.
the animators, the visual artists, they've done an incredible job. Uh, it really is one of the best video game adaptations in recent years, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just that this season expectations were a lot higher, and I think what was surprising to me, I found a recurring theme with the way that it was written. The show tended to show you the payoff first and then the build up, which kind of didn't make sense to me. And there were
Right.
many moments like that. Say, for example, they first show you the payoff that, we're gonna, the two sisters, Y is like, I'm gonna kill her, and then turns out they're just still figuring themselves out, and they're still, they still have feelings for each other as sisters. Jace wants to kill Victor, ends up
Yep.
killing Victor. It just happens. And
Mission
then we
accomplished.
get to see the buildup of why he wanted to kill Victor. I think you can do that to a certain extent to to create a surprise or a shock.
Mm-hmm.
But if you keep doing that at every given moment to create surprise, it doesn't work. And then it feels like you're watching you're watching like a sort of a Marvel movie or whatever. uh, superhero
The best
stuff.
written stories are Marvel movies. You shut your damn mouth, Adi. When I think of
I
the greatest
I
stories
beg to
ever written,
disagree. Look
I
at
know.
look at the recent work, and
Oh,
I
they're
think you
great.
would.
10 out of 10. Whatever it was, Eternals, 10 out of 10. I totally didn't
Sure,
fall asleep. There wasn't
sure,
way too
sure.
many characters in it. It was amazing. Marvels, oh, Brie Larson. Oh, she should have got an Emmy. Oh my God, an Oscar. She got everything.
She got it. She got it. She got it
But
all.
I did appreciate Ella Purnell, is that her name? The chick that
Yeah,
voiced.
she's amazing. She's
Yeah, I
amazing.
loved her in Fallout. I love her back as
Yeah,
Jinx.
same,
She's got
same.
range. She can do anything.
She's amazing. She's definitely the standout for me. We reviewed Fallout. Uh, it was
That's
the
our
first thing
first
we actually,
episode.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the first thing we ever reviewed actually. But I really adore her talent.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to see her again in season two. I think she
Fallout.
really does well to capture, that fractured psyche of Jinx and her descent into madness, but then she also captures the innocence of Powder, and
Mm-hmm.
the few shreds of humanity that's still left in Jinx. So she was great. And then you got obviously Haley Steinfeld, whose voices why she's quite popular. I think
Mm-hmm.
she's great as well. I just feel like Y was just the punching bag of the show.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is ironic because she's the character that loves to
That
punch.
punches. Yep.
Yeah. But turns out
She's
she's just the emotional wreck in this season of the
yeah,
whole
too
show
bad.
actually. But
Yeah.
this season really, puts her through the ringer, and I mean she loses her father, sees her father turn into a monster,
Yeah.
loses her sister. I mean, it's
Well,
her lover. It's
yeah.
crazy. I mean, she really gets she really gets thrown into the deep end. Uh, but they were two of the standouts, and obviously I like Jace's character a lot. I think he is, uh, he comes across as an inventor who wants to do good, but he's forced to be political, and that's not necessarily his thing. And he's thrusted into this role of being a counselor that kind of conflicts and creates obstacles with his views of magic and invention. But I must say that I was quite surprised to see how he gets an arc where he gets thrown into this world and he comes back out more rugged, more broken, and
That 5 o'clock shadow did not do him any service. It did not look good.
just look
He
disheveled.
looked like he
and-
went on a 5-week bender.
yeah, he did.
So fucked up.
But
And his
I'm
brain's like broken from the arcane.
It is. It is. I think a lot of the hex tech stuff takes a backseat,
Yep.
which I was
It's-
surprised by. I didn't know why.
It becomes more of like a plot device that still doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Did you know that League of Legends released a $250 Jinx skin?
No, I didn't. But I'm
Yeah.
not surprised that they're milking the moment. The whole
Hell
release.
yeah. Hell
the
yeah.
whole,
It's
I
a free to play
was,
game. You know what that means. We got to get those we got to get those whales out. Sorry, I didn't mean to completely sidetrack you. Go for it.
No. I agree. I mean, look, it's gonna be popular and merchandising and everything, and it's only, to be fair, it's only gonna drive the show to be more. Well, it is popular. It is really well received, and I must again emphasize that I'm being critical, but I actually like this show. As a
too.
whole. Maybe not the second season as much as the first, but as a
Yeah.
whole, I think it is an ambitious piece of storytelling. Uh, I think it's bold enough to really take risks with its characters that normally other shows would not necessarily dare to do. Maybe 3-4 seasons in that first 3 episodes in the first season, the expectations of what it sets up, and then you see all those characters get killed. You see the childhood of those sisters and what they go through. You see Silco. He's such an incredible antagonist. His presence is deeply felt. I mean, missed rather. His absence is deeply felt in this show in the second season. I just feel like Mbessa just doesn't capture the same
Yeah,
depth and
I think
complexity
for
of
Mbessa,
Silco.
they should have turned up like the Nazi stuff to like 100, because then you would really get to hate her. She just seems like a power hungry, general that's as very one dimensional.
Yeah, and even her linking up with Victor kind of just happens.
Right.
You know,
Just like, oh,
I think
wrong place, wrong time.
it should have
Cool.
it should have been more Singed. If the story was more
Yep.
about Singed and him, obviously there's a deep reason why he's doing it, is because he wants
Yeah,
to
he's
save
Iceman.
his daughter. Yeah, he's basically Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
He's Mr. Freeze. He wants
Yep.
to save his, beloved. And there's that I can get that. I can really understand why he would be evil if he has to be evil, because he needs to do it for a reason. He's not evil because he's power hungry, mustache twirling baddie.
Right. He made sure to save his daughter.
I believe that bad antagonist characters, they can't always just be mustache twirling baddies. There's a
agree.
jelly inside them that sort of
Mhm.
makes them who they are. And I think the stories that really focus and concentrate and try to make you aware why they are the way they are the ones that excel in giving you good villains. And I think in this show, I really feel they sort of were not as strong in
No.
determining who the antagonist was going to be as compared to season one, when obviously the whole Silco Vander uh, relationship and that transports further with Jinx and Y, and that carries on, and you can really feel that. But in this season, it's just like they get sidetracked a bit, and it creates a void in a way. Uh, but do you have any thoughts on like any of the side characters? What about that kid who Jinx meets, who turns out to be like Powder 2.0?
Oh, little Powder. They should have just called her Powder too.
Yeah.
I thought she was fine. You know, kids. Yeah, I guess even in animation can be annoying. I know a lot of anime where just kid characters piss me off because kids they're selfish and they are evil, and sometimes they can be good. She kind of just like looked up to Jinx, and like you said earlier, like she kind of helped her from going completely in the deep end. I didn't care for her. Dumb kid. I wanted Jinx to just be, psycho crazy
Turns out
awesome.
like she ends up stopping that war scene happening where
Yeah.
I think she shoots Warwick. That bit really got me though. The fact that they break out of jail, but turns out like it's Vander and he recognizes Jinx.
Yeah.
That was really good. I
For
mean,
for
that
a
was a good-
second, yeah. That's like where the story is. You're like, oh, okay. That's interesting. What are we gonna do with this? Wet fart.
Yeah.
Wet fart.
Yeah, I mean, when Victor tries to heal him, there is potential there.
Right,
But
they want to make him a biological weapon.
he was just Bane, wasn't he? He had
He
this
was,
huge.
yeah. I guess so. Yeah. He's Bane.
It's kind of funny how many DC like Rogues Gallery references we're picking up from this show. You got
Yeah,
Mr.
I'm sure
Freeze,
the
Bane.
writers watched a lot of
Bane.
DC animated to get the references.
That's I did not expect to draw so much from DC when it
Right.
came to talking about Arcane, but here we are. Writing aside.
I don't know. Jace is Batman. He's the investigator.
Well, he kind of does give that vibe, doesn't he? The staunch
A
it
little
sort
bit,
of,
a little bit, yeah.
yeah, trying to do the right
Jinx
thing.
is Harley Quinn. She's doing her best Joker impression. Yeah, exactly.
Now we're getting somewhere. Absolutely unhinged. Yeah. Captures that, mania, sense of mania, and who else we can pick up? Pretty sure. Oh wait, Echo is like Flash, isn't he?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Jesus, they should just do a crossover with Justice League.
Oh, just in different outfits. That'd be sick.
Imagine the money they can make if they do that.
Yeah.
That would be...
Too bad I never played Echo. I thought he was way too complicated of a character. They made him like time travel in the game, and I'm just like, this is too much. I'm just gonna play Caitlyn and shoot a really long projectile halfway across the map.
Well, he does end up time traveling in the show, regardless. I kind of had a problem with the fact that the characters' motivations were never really shown. But I just couldn't help but going into the final episode, I couldn't just help but think, how are they really gonna satisfyingly resolve everything in 45 minutes?
They're not.
So much happening. I was just like, how are they gonna do it? I was actually like, that was like when I was like, damn, like did they potentially like mess up maybe?
I feel bad for anybody that waited. We were smart. We just watched it all when it was all out.
Yeah.
I feel bad for people that waited the however many weeks to finish the
3
damn
weeks.
show, Because if you
pretty
watched
good.
it in those 3 episode chunks, you would be left on the hook for that last batch. And if you're a big, League fan, but you also like decently written story, then it's just gonna feel down. Like I seriously want to know. No, my best friend that loves League of Legends, and he watched Arcane season 1 probably like 5 or 6 times, and made me listen to that enemy song 4 million times. Uh, I want to know what he thinks of the show.
True, true. Maybe you could
I'll hit
maybe
him up.
tell me
I'll,
next time.
I'll I'll get back
Hit him
with
up.
you. I'll let you know.
Let me know. I gotta ask you. What did you have? What was your favorite episode of season two? Trick
um,
question.
none. My favorite episode. Yeah, I'm gonna go with none. I don't have a favorite episode. Like the pacing is just all over the place, so it's hard to have a favorite episode because I have favorite parts in episodes. Like anytime like they're fighting, like that jail sequence was great, but that
Mm,
episode wasn't my favorite episode because I don't have a favorite episode because it's just
yeah,
disjointed. Like you could take
yeah.
pieces from several of these episodes to combine them to make them a great episode, which baffles me because when I look at all these rating sites like Rotten Tomatoes or Metacritic or IMDb, they are all
100%.
like giving this like a fucking 9, 10 out of 10. And I'm like, what are you guys
Yeah.
smoking?
No, but in
You're
all
drunk.
fairness, the first season is a 10 out of 10. It
Yeah,
is incredible. It's
I
it's a
agree.
masterpiece. But I disagree with the sentiment that the second season is perfect. It's far from perfect. It's
Hmm.
got it's got some great moments. I don't deny that. It's got some amazing moments which you can only get out of this show and the way it's animated. But overall, in a consistent like storyline, it's overstuffed. There's so many superfluous stuff in here,
Yep.
characters, moments that don't really cohesively come across. And I think it's tough for me to pick a favorite episode as well, but just for the sake of it, I would say I'll say okay, fine, we'll pick the episode where Echo goes back in time, not because I could not because I could really care about Echo. And
Right.
actually that's where they retcon the whole Wander Silco thing, which I didn't like. Uh
Yeah.
but I like the fact that they gave us a glimpse of what could have been, and
Mhm.
more than that, they showed the true winner of the show. They showed Heimerdinger, and
The
they
true
showed
winner.
the
Hey,
true
I
winner. Yeah,
think nice powder without all that gross injections. I think she was the perfect character. She was a cinnamon roll. She was likable.
she was good, and
Yeah.
I think it's sad, isn't it? Like you kind of see what could have been, and in the end, you're left with just this feeling of emptiness
Right.
because everyone's either dead or disappeared. I don't even know what happens to Jace and Victor. Do they even survive?
Who
There's no
knows?
real.
We'll
They
find
just
out in next
disappear.
episode of another show on
Uh,
another season on another
I s-
continent.
I suppose Mel is maybe the next protagonist of the
Well,
spinoff or
yeah,
whatever.
who knows? They might do a
Who knows?
storyline because Noxus fights Demacia a lot, so who knows? I'm sure they'll come
Yeah.
back.
I had a problem with like the council after the first episode. There's this council character. I don't know what he is, but he's meant to be like a bad guy.
Hmm.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
I
He's the
have no
guy.
idea because the characters in this season are so all over the place. Nobody's memorable. You
Yeah,
couldn't even tell
he's
you.
not memorable, but I was just like he came out of nowhere. I couldn't understand what he was doing there.
Right.
Uh,
It's
he was
okay.
a
The
guy who was
writers
getting
didn't either.
he was getting shimmer inked on his tattoos. Do you
Oh
remember?
yeah, yeah. The I guess he was like the leader of Piltover or something, but he's like sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Came
yeah,
out of nowhere.
he vaguely showed up in the first season for like a couple of episodes. He was just like She's just there.
Hmm. Yeah,
She's like the
just felt
prince or
like
like the king or something. I don't know. It's whatever. I liked the
it is.
my favorite. Okay, no bullshit. I liked the chick that was inking him. I liked her design because I'm I'm a secret furry.
Well, it's good to know you can appreciate some of the
Yeah,
side
I
characters.
like character design sometimes. I'm into it.
What did you think of Warwick and Wander the Beast?
Cool. I like Warwick as a character. It's fine. I'm into it. Now, do I feel for them that their dad's in there? Sure. But I like just Warwick because he kind of reminds me of like Wolverine. Like he's just
Yeah, he does.
rabid, he's savage, fucks shit up. He doesn't care. He's a
No.
beast. He eats people. In the
Yeah.
game, he would hold his ultimate was holding people down and just clawing the shit out of them.
I thought I kid you not, I thought it would end where both the sisters would have to make the terribly difficult decision to kill Warwick, and who is obviously their dad, and
Yep.
it would be a deeply emotional moment, but they had to do it because he's gone, he's no more there,
All
and they had
right.
to
He's
accept
not
that
there.
and come to terms. But instead, what we get is why sort of sabotaging herself and then putting Jinx in unnecessary danger, and just like they just get killed off,
Mm-hmm.
like just like that. And then who even knows? Maybe they'll bring them back or bring Jinx
There's
back.
always bullshit
Uh,
with shows like this.
I think there's a scene snuck in where Caitlyn is looking at the plan of the air duct, and yeah, it turns out there's an air duct where they fell, and she could have possibly, I don't know, survived in there or whatever, some convoluted shtick. But I just thought, like, really, you're really gonna just do your best character like that, just like
Right.
get rid of them without a
Well, they did
satisfying.
they did that to all of the characters. They just do fuck all.
Hmm, yeah,
It's like in The Simpsons when that dog character he just suddenly like just disappears in the background. He's just like waving, bye guys, and like the dog that Homer voices, he's just like bye.
yeah, yeah. I get that reference. It is a bit like that. But
The show is all right.
it was all right. It's just perhaps our
Yeah,
expectations were sky high, and
yeah,
I think maybe we shouldn't have approached it with that same
right.
expectation of season
Hey,
one.
all I know
But
is I have "Enemy" by Imagine Dragons still stuck in my head, and I
I
listen.
was
Doesn't help
surprised.
that
I
I
was
listen to the music
surprised.
video so many times now. Doesn't help.
Yeah, they even did a an opening of Arcane with Dan though. I think that would be pretty cool to see.
All right.
Uh, you know, change it up a bit. That's
Hell
the
yeah.
that's the song I'm addicted to right now. The
Yep.
opening of Dan, which
Hell yeah.
is
Episode
fucking
9 was pretty
amazing.
wild.
It's the gift that keeps giving. I
Hmm.
fucking love that show.
Hmm.
One of my favorite anime of the
Ooh.
year. But
Ooh.
let's see how I'm looking forward to seeing how the final 4 episodes conclude, and
Hell yeah. Okay.
it's
Now
gonna
that we
be a
got
ride.
sidetracked, do we have anything else to say about League of Legends season 2? I mean, Arcane season 2?
Arcane, yeah. Could you explain to me the whole Black Rose thing? Because I still don't understand
I
it.
don't. I don't either. It doesn't make any sense.
So
She's
it's
like
not
a
even
witch
part
or
of the.
she's like a witch or something. Like maybe they
Is
retcon
it part of the
something in the
lore of the game
storyline.
though?
It might be. I haven't been a League of Legends historian for a very long time.
I just
I
thought it
know
was a
some of
horrible
the
distraction from the main plot, though.
yeah, because like some of the storylines in League they completely retcon them or they change the art or they might even change the skin color of a character because they want to be more inclusive. I don't know. Or because like something because it's like sort of looks like blackface, we kind of got to like tone that down, make everybody happy. Who knows? they retcon all these characters. Like all, I'm sure Vi, Jinx, Caitlyn, I'm sure they've had like 6 or 7 retcons by now because the game has been out, for a long time. 2009 is a very long time. Was it like 15 years? It's like this was absurd. And the storyline was it was a little infograph. It was like maybe a paragraph long, and then sometimes they would do like the same studio that helped animate this, Studio Blur. They did like little like trailers for like character intros, so you'd kind of get like an idea what the character was about. And some of the story would be like there, like Jinx has a whole like song that's, I don't know if it's actually in this season, but it's definitely in the first season, where you talk about getting jinxed, and that was like a whole trailer. She's like riding on a rocket. It's very emblematic of what the character's all about, just being crazy for the sake of crazy. It's fun, explosions, and it's. I completely lost my train of thought of what I was talking about.
Black
I think I'm
transition
Black
to
Rose.
Jinx.
I don't know what it is.
To...
I don't. It was confusing. I was just as confused as you were when it showed up.
Were you disappointed that they didn't kill Caitlyn in the end? Because I really thought they would kill her, and they should have. Probably.
I honestly didn't give a shit. Got to that 3rd episode, I was checked out.
Fair. All right then. I guess we can give it a rating. I'm still unsure what to say, but do you want to go ahead while I decide?
Absolutely. I'll lead the charge. So, Arcane Season 2 is visually stunning, and it really blows me away with all its use of color. It's got a lot of style. Unfortunately, the story kind of all over the place with the messy, multi-dimensional diversion, the subplot that poorly ties it all together. Like I said, it was okay. I begrudgingly give Arcane Season 2 a 6 out of 10 because of just the pacing and just all over the damn place. But I will, I will give Season 1 a 10 out of 10. It's a closer to a 9 than a 10, but it is what it is. It set our expectations this season like in the sky, which is unfortunate, but it's all right. If you get bored, check it out. What do you think, Adi? What's your rating?
I think that you hit the nail on the head, and like you said, visually, we can't look past what an achievement this is visually. I've never seen anything animated like this. I just wish more things were animated uniquely and not necessarily adhering to what's always been done. It's great to see, different ways. And sure, the trade-off of that is sometimes it takes a lot of time. 4 years is a lot of time to wait for a second season. I think the level of writing in this second season is deeply underwhelming, overstuffed, too many characters, too much fat that could have been trimmed off, pacing being rushed at the end, all over the place, actually. But the third act, the final 3 episodes, is where it really does the damage for me and feels incredibly rushed. Overall, I am not satisfied with the way it ended. I feel like it works better as a second season with a third season to come, or it could have worked better with more episodes and a longer runtime. As I said earlier, that being said, I'll still be a bit generous and give it a 7 out of 10 because I still appreciate the quality, not just in animation, but also the performances. Ella Purnell, absolute standout, a talent, a force, someone to look for in the future. I'm sure she's going to be in a lot of great stuff. I think that it's nice to see for me as a non-player of the game that, that it can be done. And,
Wait,
games.
Are you an
games
NPC in League of Legends?
No, I'm not. But like, as a guy, what I meant, you know what I mean.
As a guy that has never played the video game. Yeah, no, I'm
never played the video
teasing.
game or never fucking knew what League of Legends
I'm just
was.
taking the piss.
I had to Google it up, and I was like, people play this game? It looks so weird.
All over the world.
I'm not judging you if you do. good for you. I'm just saying that it's cool to see that, video games are not cursed and they can be adapted if done right. And Arcane season 1 is a masterpiece. And I'm going to talk about it. Season 1 is incredible. It set the bar high. It's amazing writing. I'm actually curious now to see if the writers changed uh, in season 2, because that's the only thing I can think of. That, or they were pressed for budget and they had to make sacrifices and stuff everything in a second season without the option of doing a third. That's the only other explanation I can think of. The first season for me is a 10 out of 10, a masterpiece. Second season, unfortunately, struggles. Uh, Still has a lot of quality, but is let down by poor pacing and writing, um, and poor antagonists. I gives the second season a 7 out of 10. And I guess if I had to round it up, overall, the series of Arcane, it'll be an 8 out of 10. But,
Okay.
We'll hopefully see what they do with the upcoming projects. Like I said, there's some
Like
couple of spin-offs.
Heimerdinger's new invention, the show.
Let's just focus on a show with just Heimerdinger and his little goat pet going on adventures. All right,
Okay.
that's the only thing that can save season 2.
So like Mandalorian?
Holy shit, we're running out of references here. No,
The tags in this episode are going to be amazing.
Heimerdinger is Yoda, so
Pretty
it wouldn't
much.
work. Heimerdinger is the
Oh,
Yoda
no.
character, so he's like a Gandalf character,
Yeah.
the wise wizard. But
Okay.
I guess that sums it up.
All right.
Do you
ready
want to
for the
go on
rec?
to your recommendation? Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I like horror movies. You like horror movies?
I
Let's
like
do
atmospheric horror movies.
Ooh, you like atmospheric horror movies? Well, I have an atmospheric, however you say that. Let's do Barbarian. I got a little cute synopsis, but it's very very loose because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. Barbarian, I think it's a A24 film. It's got like Justin Long, and it's pretty neat. So the synopsis is: this chick rents out an Airbnb and finds out this guy, this complete stranger, was already in the Airbnb. So like, against her better judgment, she decides to spend the night. But soon she discovers it's not this random creepy dude that she has to fear. There's a lot more going on here. Maybe another unwanted guest. Ooh. If you don't want to be spoiled for Barbarian, check it out before that episode drops.
Perfect. Looking forward to that. We will see you for that episode. Thank you for listening. And it's goodbye from me.
All right. See you, Space Cowboy.